Child marriage is a criminal offense, punishable by law. But despite the punishment associated with the practice, some families in the Ashanti region hide behind poverty, sociocultural beliefs, among others, to push their children into the practice. Girls as young as 10 years, some in junior high schools, are victims of child marriage in the region. Amina, a 16-year-old girl, suffers post-traumatic stress disorder. She struggles with her self-worth as a result of abuse she suffered in the hands of a man who married her when she was just 15 years old. The man took her to Côte d'Ivoire 2 days after she completed her basic education certificate examination.
She no kumana zuwa school cikin azumi Ramadan time. Shi na zo gida muna camp na zo gida shi aka ce mi gashi kaza sun kawo lefi an kawo komai da yawo. Shi ce aure ina mai abar maybe bayan sallah ko na kare school mana. A ja ciki shine wa ba yadda. Shine wanya ce ba yadda student mai da mene ana fude maganganu kowa na maganganu.
For Ramana, not her real name, her parents confined her to the room upon return from school one day to marry her father's nephew as a sign of respect. The marriage, to reciprocate the financial support Ramana's parents have enjoyed from the 44-year-old Kwame Danso-based electrician, means an end to her childhood dream of becoming a journalist.
They will tell you that when your parents say something, then you say no, like it is an insult to them. Even they told me not to come and report. I told them I am not interested in that marriage, but they told me that if I did not do it, it is an insult.
Like Amina, Ramana's parents faced prosecution as every advice from police for them to allow Ramana go back to school after that timely rescue fell on deaf ears. Amina and Ramana were rescued by the police Dofsu with the support of the multimedia group. Superintendent Susanna Derry is the Ashanti Regional Dofsu Commander.
With the help of SWAT and the anti-armed robbery squad, we were able to get some armed men to accompany me and my investigator to the scene. And we went in, forcibly took the girl out without anybody questioning because of the scene. They had seen armed men around and we rushed her out of the area.
Ramana is encouraging girls who are being forced to become child brides to report to police.
I want to become a journalist so that I can share my idea, like this situation. I can use it to tell people that whenever there is any situation, they have to go and report it to the police.
From Kumasi, for Joy News, Oyemi Nteria reporting.
Welcome back on the AM show. Those were some gut-wrenching excerpts of Oyemi Nteria's Hotline documentary, Child to Bride. It focuses on girls who are given out for marriage at very young ages. We're going to engage our guests now on this all-important matter. It is still going on in 21st century Ghana. Superintendent Susan Derry is Dofsu Commander in the Ashanti region. We also have Dr. Ruth Owusu-Entwi, President, Psychiatrists Association of Ghana. They both join the conversation. Doc and Supo, a very good morning to you. Thank you for joining us here.
Good morning, and thank you for having me.
Right. So I've only heard one response. So I'm looking forward to hearing. So whose voice is it that I'm hearing?
I'm not sure, but this is Ruth Osonchi speaking.
Right, Ruth. Thank you so much for connecting. Supo, you would have to unmute so we can hear you as well. Superintendent Derry, if you can hear me, please press the unmute button so we can.
So good morning and good morning to all your cherished viewers.
Great.
I'm Superintendent Susanna.
Right. It's
of Regional Dog School.
Right. Pleasure to have you. Superintendent, I'd just like to start with you in terms of the dynamics. The Ashanti region, interestingly, has become a hotbed for some of these activities, and girls as little as 10 sometimes are, roped into all kinds of things for different reasons. But why do you think the prevalence is getting higher and higher in the Ashanti region? Do you know what is accounting for this?
Well, it is a cultural practice that is practiced amongst some sections of the region.
Okay.
And especially within, excuse me to say, our Zongo communities, within the Kumasi metropolis and other areas in the Ashanti region. And so because it's a cultural practice and a religious practice, they think there's nothing wrong with it. And so they are practicing their culture, they are practicing their religion. And so when they are doing it, it appears they don't see anything wrong with it. And so they hide and do it, but now people are getting enlightened, and so we get tip-offs, and then that makes it look like it's on the rise, but it has been happening undercover.
So it is not that the prevalence is rising. It is merely that because people are becoming more aware of the situation, more cases are coming up, and that is why we see a sort of uptick in the numbers.
Exactly. The school children, especially who are always victims, are being more educated by their school teachers. Then sometimes dogs and other interested stakeholders also go around to sensitize them. And so they are getting more aware. And so whenever there is this thing confronting them, some are able to sneak to inform us. And then the teachers to get our contacts, and then they inform us. And so we go to work. And that makes it look like it's on the rise. But actually, it is something that has been practiced for a long, long, long time.
Right.
And now is coming out, yeah.
And so it traces its roots into so many other factors. We'll be getting into some of the factors later, but I want to find out, into the northern belt of our country, and in fact, our border areas, a lot of such activities happen. But what exactly is the prevalence rate? In other words, you're saying that it's not necessarily shooting up, but it is that people are becoming more aware. But what exactly are the numbers in the Ashanti region when it comes to child marriages or the cases that pass through your unit?
Yes, as for the numbers, it depends on you see, usually you only get the tip off and you move. It's not like people coming every day, like in cases of other crimes like assault, maybe causing damage, where you have it every day being reported. As for child marriage, we depend on tip-offs. And then sometimes we go around nosing around when we get any information that such a thing is yet to happen. So for the numbers, they are not too many, but they come out as time goes on. The period between 2019 and now, I would say we've investigated not less than about 15 to 20 cases of child marriage. There are some we have successfully prosecuted. There are some too that are still being investigated, and then some we have been able to educate them and then stop them from continuing their practice. Right.
So 15 to about 20. We know that in the I mean, it varies greatly. In the northern belt of the country, in the northern regions, it can hit as high as 39%. And even here in the Greater Accra region as well, it's extant with about 12% of those occurring here. But let me come to Dr. Ruth Owusu-Antwi, and especially as you're president of the Psychiatrists Association of Ghana. Let's start from the end of just how traumatic it can be for a young person, and we know the legal age in this country, 18, for a boy or a girl to get married. But in some instances, at 16, with the consent of parents, some girls, for example, get married. But how traumatic can this be for children to be thrust into adulthood so quickly, and especially without their permission?
Yes, this is really traumatic for children. In fact, child marriage is categorized under child abuse in general. If you force a child who is not even physically fully developed, mentally, emotionally developed into marriage, it is certainly an abuse on the part of the child. Most of these children have developed depression, they have developed anxiety disorders. Some go through what we call post-traumatic stress disorder because of the trauma of having to face a situation or a marriage that they are not prepared for. And some lose their self-esteem. They begin to feel that their dreams of becoming a teacher, or a nurse, a doctor, a police officer, somebody significant in the society is all shattered because they have to go through marriage at a very tender age. And so the mental health implication of child marriages cannot be overemphasized. They are negative on these children and on the society as a whole. Imagine this kind of mother going through all of these emotional, psychological trauma, having to give birth and take care of children. You can imagine that these children would not get the proper upbringing. And so the effect even trickles down on the children that are likely to come out of such marriages.
Now, we have some of these children getting married to men even 3 times their age. And that in itself complicates the situation. You've spoken about the bodies of these children, but what do you see to be some of the factors, and are you seeing them addressed? What are some of the factors that are causing these child marriages from where you sit?
Like the superintendent said earlier, sometimes it's because of the culture. I've had people come to our clinic who have been forced into these marriages as a way of showing appreciation to this elderly man who helped the family go through school and stuff like that. And it's either it's culture or it's a way of showing appreciation. So we give you our daughter whom you helped through school, or we give you our daughter in exchange of the immense help you gave to the family. And that is absolutely wrong. You don't exchange the entire being, the entire human being, the entire wellness of someone in exchange of an appreciation. That is totally wrong. And those who are doing it as a result of cultural, their culture, that culture is outmoded. In the 21st century, some of these things should not continue to go on. As far back as 2014, about 21% of child marriages were still going on in the country. I'm not sure of the current statistic, but this is shameful. There are enough adults out there. Why don't you go for them than to go for these innocent children or innocent girls whose dreams are entirely shattered because of being forced into this marriage? In any way, they may not become any proper, in quotes, partners or spouses, because the whole ordeal or the whole arrangement is very traumatizing. So you will not get the best out of the marriage anyway. And so why do you even go for it?
And you talk about the cultural elements which are stark. We see them, but there are also economic factors, aren't there?
Exactly. And the economic factors will be a subset of the exchange for a good a good thing that a rich man or an elderly rich family did for another poor family. And so, yes, these all boils down, some of these things boil down to economic challenges and economic difficulties. But then again, no reason is good enough for any girl to be pushed into child marriage.
Doc, before I go back to Supo with just another question, I'd like to ask you, looking broadly at our society, what do you think the impact is, not just on the girls who are forced into to become child brides, but society as a whole, their families, their communities? What do you see to be the ripple effect of these actions?
Yes, I already mentioned the ripple effect that starts from even the children that may be born out of such marriages. This is a mother who would not be in the right frame of mind to take care of her offsprings the right way. And these children go into the society, they are being brought up or raised by a mother who is depressed. These children will eventually end up with substance abuse, adjustment disorders, conduct disorders. They cannot fit into the society because they would have mental health and behavioral challenges, or sometimes personality disorders that people may not know that stems out from the kind of home that they are coming from. And so at the end of the day, these are children who are in the classroom or are in the society with similarly other children who have been brought up well, and they would be negative influence on the other children. They cannot fit into the society. They end up in one social vice or the other. They grow up, they are working, they can't fit into the society, they can't fit into any job, there are problems for their employers. And so in the long term, medium term, and even in the short term, there are several stages of mental health implications. Unfortunately, most of these are never brought to the attention of experts. We for instance, at CAT run an abuse clinic. And of all the cases of abuse or survivors of abuse who come to our clinic, since 2019 we started the clinic, we have not had any case of a child marriage being brought there. We have seen several cases of sexual abuse, emotional abuse, but nobody has brought a child or a girl who has been forced into marriage. And I think that they end at the level of the society, of the community. Once they're able to bring the child out, it ends there. But if we're able to bring such children out and get psychological and psychiatric help for them, they may turn around to be useful people in the society.
It's all downsides to this act, this horrible act. But let me come to Supo on my very next bit. I know that in 2014, there was an ending child marriage unit that was set up by the Ministry of Gender, Children and Social Protection. And I also know that in the year following that, 2015, a high-level National Advisory Committee was set up to put together some of these matters moving forward in collaboration with UNICEF. Do you have any idea what has emanated from the work from 2014 and 2015 and what its impact has been as of now? Are you with me, Supo? Do we still have Supo on the line?
Yes, hello.
Yes. Did you get my question, or should I repeat it?
Yeah, could you repeat the question?
So I was saying that in 2014, I know there was an ending child marriage unit that was set up. It was under the Ministry of Gender, Children and Social Protection. In the year following, 2015, there was a high-level advisory committee that was also set up to aid in its work in conjunction with UNICEF. My question is, do you know what work has flowed from there? I mean, what have been some of the gains, if you know about this unit, since 2014, 2015 till now that have been brought to bear?
You see, DOCSU is a police unit.
Right.
And we work strictly under our mandate. We know child marriage is a a crime. And so when it is reported, we take it as it is, concentrate on the investigation of our cases and possibly prosecute it. Or where we need to advise parties to desist from it, we do. So if other institutions are also maybe putting things in place, it will be difficult for me to be able to trace, to know what exactly has happened and probably whether it has gotten any impact or not. But since we are solely police officers, we work strictly under our mandate. And so for that aspect, I don't think I'll be able to tell. But what I know is that we do a lot of sensitization, sometimes in collaboration with these institutions and organizations. For instance, years ago, we had that collaboration with UNICEF and then other NGOs that are interested in such issues. And we went around, sometimes schools, churches, and then sometimes on air to educate the public on child marriage and things that are not supposed to be done to children. And so for that aspect of your question, I think it will be a bit difficult for me to.
So I was just asking that about collaborative work, knowing that DOPSU also collaborates with these other institutions of state. But so moving forward, and I just want to put out this data as we move forward and share thoughts on how to eradicate this. I mean, we did it with female genital mutilation, even bearing a different name initially, circumcision, female circumcision. We criminalized it. We made it even more difficult for people to do, and we've made many gains. What is the way forward? But before you come in, Supo, I just wanted to put this data out there for all of us to appreciate. Every 40 seconds or so, about 20 girls under the age of 18 across the world get married. Now, each year, 12 million girls are married before the age of 18. That is 23 girls every minute, and nearly 1 in every 2 seconds. That is a stark reality, and that is something we all have to grapple with. And in Ghana, we are making our contribution as well for the negative. So, Supo, starting with you, what is the way forward? What more can we do?
Yes, the way forward, we need to educate and educate and educate. You see, this whole thing is a little of culture and a little of religion. You see, poverty is there, but that the group of people who practice this, they are not the only people who are poor. And so if everybody says, because I'm poor, I have to practice this, I don't think that should be the way. But there are other factors. This issue of culture and religion. Because, in fact, sometimes when we even arrest some of the offenders and we are taking statements, some of them will tell us that that is how we do things. When the girl starts getting breast, then it means she's ripe for marriage. And so whether she goes to school or not, she will end up marrying. So why don't you do it now? And others too are even referring us to how, excuse me to say, Prophet Muhammad had so many wives, and even the youngest, they will mention as low as 9-year-old girl was Prophet Muhammad's wife. So their religion allows it. And so when it is like this, we need to let them understand that no, those days, Prophet Muhammad, now we are in Ghana and our laws are saying this. So it is not allowed. And excuse me to say, most of them too are foreigners who have come to settle. And they will tell us that back in their country, we practice it. Then we also tell them that once you're in Ghana, you must do what Ghana says. So you see, we need to educate them, let them know. In fact, with the few arrests and the prosecutions we've made, now it's like it's opening people's eyes. Some of them, even some sneak, some will see from outside, just walk to us and say, watch this particular house. Something is going to happen there. So when they tell us this, then we set our men around and the nose around until we catch them. And in fact, when we catch them, there are some we succeed in stopping them from pursuing their aim. But there are some who are always so stubborn that no matter what, they insist that they must just do what they want. And when it comes to that, then we must move to the next level. So it is education. We need to educate them. They need to understand.
All right. Dr. Ruth Owusu-Antwi, you have the final bite. What is the way forward in less than a minute, if you can?
Yes, thank you. So education is the way to go.
Right.
And beyond the education, those who are already survivors of child marriage should not just be moved out of the marriage, but subsequently be given psychosocial support. When these girls are empowered, they themselves become advocates against the act. They will be people with lived experiences who will be able to become strong advocates against the act. I'm encouraging Supo to bring this child over to the abuse clinic at Kompanochi Teaching Hospital for her to get some support as well.
Thank you so much, ladies, for joining the conversation. Dr. Ruth Owusu-Antwi, President, Psychiatrists Association of Ghana. We also had Superintendent Susan Derry, DOFSU Commander in the Ashanti region. Child Brides. That's our latest Hotline documentary. Don't you fail to catch it right here on this network.